Good morning, Hustle Nation, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. This morning, first installment of Wellness Wednesdays with Dr. Bryant Edwars, and we're talking about relieving stress and pain through ketamine infusion therapy. And if you're like me, you're probably saying, what the heck is ketamine infusion therapy? Nevertheless, we've got the perfect person to help us break it down and really help us understand it. So go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand. Just do not post any links. I would love to give you a free business shout out. And if you stick around to the end of this show, you're really going to understand how pain, physical pain, and emotional pain from trauma and things of that nature are all connected, and what you could do to relieve yourself of said pain. So without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get it cracking. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities, and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally, or I've learned from, or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network. And when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, Ultimate Hustlers, welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor. And we are coming live and direct from the My Perfect Money Plan studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Yes, it is Wellness Wednesdays, and we're going to talk about being physically well, but you might as well become financially well at the same time. And that's what My Perfect Money Plan is all about. Learn how to save money, how to make money, and how to grow money when you check out myperfectmoneyplan.com. We've got a wonderful show lined up for you. We're talking with Dr. Bryant Edwars about relieving stress from the stress of physical pain, as well as the stress from emotional pain and traumas in our lives using ketamine infusion therapy. But got a couple of quick announcements before we do that. Remember, comment your biggest takeaway from today, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. So comment your biggest takeaway for today so that we can help you release some stress via a free vacation, right? Couple quick announcements. Hey, you guys can actually support this show for $5 a month by joining Hustle Nation. That is the Facebook fan page subscription. All you got to do is click on support this page below this video, and you'll see that you can support the page $5 a month. And that helps me continue to bring you great guests like Dr. Bryant Edwars. Also, the financial wellness webinar is going down tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you really want to know how we do this, how we're helping thousands of people get their finances in order, then I want you to comment webinar so I can get you the link after the show on where to be at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central Standard Time. And of course, it's Wednesday, so that means we give away our free vacation at noon today. So if you participate in the takeaway of the day, where you comment your biggest takeaway from today's show, then you get entered into a drawing so that you can come hang out with us at noon, and we're going to pick a winner of that free vacation. So now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I was introduced to this gentleman by my personal coach and mentor, Mr. Henry Edwars, and he's always speaking highly of people that will be a good fit for the show and people who are doing great work in the world of entrepreneurship, but also in the communities that they are in. And when he told me about what Dr. Bryant is doing in the area of emotional stress and trauma, as well as pain relief with his Ketamine Infusion Therapy Center, then I said, yeah, we've got to get this brother on the show. I reached out and he obliged. So we have with us none other than Dr. Bryant Edwars of the Infusion Therapy Center over there. So Dr. Edwars, welcome to the show. How you doing this morning, brother?
Good morning. I'm blessed. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, before we get into who you are and your story, we like to start off the show with what I call the quote of the day. And today's quote, and that's where on the Cortez Hustle Show, I give a quote and I'll give my thoughts on that quote. If you have a favorite quote, then you can share with us as well, or you can chime in on this one. But today's quote of the day here on the Cortez Hustle Show is, he who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything. That is an ancient Arabian proverb. He who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything. Doc, I don't know about you, but every morning I try to talk myself out of my workout, right? Every morning, right? But the future Cortez, thank God for him, talks me back into it, because he reminds me that, hey, man, and 40 years from now, 30 years from now, 20 years from now, you want to run around with your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids. You want to still be contributing to your family. And the right now, Cortez is like, I'm fit today. I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm strong. Right. But it's like, you got to maintain that. So I truly believe that this quote has a lot of merit. If you have health, you have hope, man. When I wake up in the morning, I give thanks, and I'm like, God, if you don't do nothing else for me today,
I'm good.
I'm good. I can take it from here the best I can. So do you have a favorite quote that you want to share, or do you want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, or I could do both briefly. I love that one, because if you ever find yourself with your health challenge and you used to depend on your body, and now this thing doesn't go like it went before, I mean, it really makes you appreciate those good days, right? Because we take it for granted till we don't have it. My favorite quote is on chance favors the prepared mind. Chance favors the prepared mind.
Love it, love it, love it. And a lot of people don't get that. It's like the prepared mind. One of my favorite prepared mind stories, I'm here in St. Louis. So we got to see and witness that whole Kurt Warner deal, from bagging groceries to Super Bowl champion, right? That was a prepared mind. You know, he wasn't sitting on the sideline saying, hey, I'm going to take these few $100,000, I'm going to back up Trent Green, and I'm going to twiddle my thumbs. He's like, man, I'm going to get a shot. And when I get that shot, I'm going to be ready. And a lot of people forget about the GOAT, right? If it wasn't for Drew Bledsoe going down, we might not know Tom Brady.
That's right.
But again, a prepared mind. Drew Bledsoe goes down, Tom Brady steps in, 7 Super Bowl championships later, greatest quarterback of all time. So that is the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Now let's get into it, brother. Tell everybody, Dr. Bryant, who the heck is Dr. Bryant Edwars?
So Bryant Edwars, right? And my story kind of goes like this. I'm from the Mississippi Delta, right? About 45 miles south of Memphis, Clarksdale, Mississippi, where I was born, that's the place that Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil in order to become a famous blues player, and anytime there's a funeral down in Mississippi, we always see cars from license plates from, Missouri, Chicago, Illinois, that kind of thing. But anyway, born down there, grew up in Marks, Mississippi, which is right a few miles, 15 miles or so from there. And got into medicine actually through the military. My late brother was serving in the military, and he had just got back from the Gulf War, right? Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And so I'm in high school trying to figure out what I want to do. I always had, a certain acumen and ability, but I was didn't know which way I wanted to go with that. And so he was like, well, why don't you go into the military and pursue medicine? So I'm like, okay. So I go into the military and became trained as a EMT basic, which is a combat medic, right?
Okay.
And also while I was in there, I was trained as a licensed practical nurse, which at the time I didn't think was a good idea, but in hindsight, it really served me well. So I do this thing in the military for a while, and I'm in the reserves, and I go to Tennessee State University, and that's where I wound up graduating with a degree in nursing, also a degree in science, a bachelor's in science. And also was doing that process that, I don't know, I just started to develop this service toward people, right? It was like my late brother, he's my late brother now because he was in the military and ultimately passed. And he always thought I was not really pursuing myself, like not maximizing my potential, not really doing the best I could do. And turns out he was right. So once he died is what really kind of motivated me to pursue medicine, right?
Yeah.
And so out of that experience, I go on to medical school and was trained as an anesthesiologist and in the military as well. Right, nice. At a residency there.
Got you. Well, first of all, sorry for your loss of your brother, and thank you for your service, brother. Every time I get a chance to talk to somebody in the military, listen, this world that we live in here in America operates on free enterprise, and we don't get to operate on free enterprise if guys like you don't go and protect this democracy. And I couldn't be an entrepreneur the way I am today if it wasn't for guys like you. So I definitely thank you for that. And I'm always interested in military folks' background in terms of, okay, we saw what kind of got you into the military. It was like, okay, I need to figure some things out. My older brother influenced me, but you also made a career out of it. So when did you decide, like, okay, I'm in this thing, I'm in it? Because, I talk to a lot of folks who like, man, they do their first term and they like, man, them 4 years was hell, I'm out of here. But you made a career out of it. So when did you decide to make that career, and what was that thought process?
Yeah, it really goes by so fast. At one point you're looking at it like, I'm in high school taking this oath, and then the next thing you look up, it's 8 years down the road, and you get to this break point where you make that decision. I got so much invested in this at this point, it wouldn't make sense for me not to continue in this career. And in my case, I was blessed to be able to have people who stepped up and say, I think you have potential to do this, you have potential to do that, so why don't you continue that, right? When I was in the reserve unit down in Memphis, Tennessee, that's where I met Mr. Doors. Well, actually, our families go way back, right? Common friend out, Mr. Henry Doors of Office Huddle. But I had some NCOs at that time, non-commissioned officers, these guys, and they were really, encouraging, saying, young brother, Tennessee State University, you can go up there, I'll give you a job once you get there, and you can support yourself while you're in school. And nobody's here by themselves. There's always somebody along the way, even in the military, who are kind of helping you reach that next step. If you have potential, you're willing to work hard, they'll help you. Gotcha.
I love that, man. And we don't hear enough about that. Like, no, there are people who we come from a situation where our media spends all of its time, energy, and effort on the 5% of negativity, and they show that 95% of the time. So that creates a slant in us to believe that the world is 95% bad. And it's not. They just only show us the 5% bad 95% of the time. And I think also because of that conditioning, we don't get to hear stories like, man, a brother said, man, go to Tennessee State. I got you, got a job for you. You'll better pay your way through, and we're going to help you and want to support you. And that's powerful. So the next thing that I like to know from our military folks is that transition outside of the military. And I know y'all are listening and waiting on Cortez talk about the infusion therapy. We're going to get to that, right? But this is important. Now that you get to the place where, hey, man, I'm ready to start the next chapter in my life. What was that decision like? Because you're a young, strong man and could continue in the military if you wanted to, but you decided to make that transition. What was the thought process in making the decision to go ahead and retire? And then how was the transition into full civilian life?
Yeah, so that was, I think that point in my life was probably one of the most darkest, right? Mm-hmm. So in my case, at one point I was a natural bodybuilder, this whole thing, right? Really into fitness and, supplements, nutrition, all this stuff, well, completely natural. No, no testosterone, any kind of thing, no steroids, right? So anyway, I'm going along my day and doing my thing in the military, and I had this pain in my back that was nagging, but I thought I was just getting old or whatever, changed mattresses. And this went on for probably a couple of years while I was still in active duty and doing my thing. Then it got to the point it just got progressively worse and worse and worse, right? So I need an MRI, right? And at this time, I'm an anesthesiologist here at this hospital on post, right? And this thing is clearly indicated because I can't feel my foot at this point. I know something is wrong, and they wouldn't do the MRI for me, right? And I'm like, oh God, if this is how I get treated here, I can't imagine what the guys in 82nd Airborne and infantry guys out here who are pounding the ground, what they're being told, because I knew I needed this test. Long story short, I paid for it out of pocket, right? I was fortunate enough to have the resources to go down here and pay for out of pocket MRI to give me a firm diagnosis, tell me what was going on. So I had this huge arachnoid cyst at my L1 level, right, in my vertebra, and my vertebrae. And it was actually spinal, so it was on my actual spinal cord. The sac around it was had the cyst that was putting pressure on my nerve roots. It was like choking the life out of my nerve root. That's why I wasn't able to feel and that kind of thing. So at this point, I have this big surgery, and another year later, I have another surgery on the same right side to decompress at a lower level. So my career ended that way. It didn't end the way that I had actually drew it up in the mud. Now, I mean, on some level, I had a total time, I had 27 years active reserve enlisted officer, right? So it wasn't a bad career, but it didn't end the way I wanted to. But during this process is when I found that a lot of medications that they were putting me on that I was prescribed, that I had told other people as an anesthesiologist in this position that this stuff would work. I found that it really didn't work very well at all, or the side effects were so detrimental that you didn't want to take it, right? So for me, the answer was yoga, right?
Really?
Believe it or not, yoga. And it was like the universe is telling me yoga, yoga, yoga. And people would tell me, perhaps you should try yoga. And it's like I wasn't listening. And I was chronic pain. The pain was bad. My mood had slipped. I had no idea. It was my wife who actually brought it to my attention. Like, you don't want to go anywhere no more. Just pain on the job. I'm limping, all this kind of stuff, right? So I get into yoga, refuse to do it at first. And then my physical therapist says, since you won't do it, we're going to start implementing some yoga poses into your physical therapy. And that's the best thing that ever happened to me. So after that, I was able to get myself back because I was in a very dark place. And it gave me empathy in a way that I didn't previously have, because, excuse me, if you don't go through something at times, you can't really appreciate what other people are going through, right? So because of that pain and depression, I was able to see pain and depression on a level for my patients that I wouldn't be able to express otherwise.
I love it, man. And I just saw a Facebook quote, and I got my girl Shiro, and I'm glad she's watching because she is, this is going to be good for her. But I saw a Facebook quote just the other day, and I think you can speak to this, and then we're going to get into how what the heck is ketamine therapy, right? But I saw a quote the other day. It says, people don't fake depression. They fake being happy. They fake being normal, right? And it sounds like you couldn't see that until you experienced that. And now it's like, okay, I can see where this person is truly and clearly depressed, and that smile that they're putting on, that's not the real them. They're going through something. So let's talk about what the heck ketamine infusion therapy is, and how it actually works, and why is it so effective?
Yeah, so ketamine itself is an anesthetic, right? And it was developed in the 1960s by Park Davis Pharmaceuticals. 1970s, it was FDA approved as an anesthetic, where it found excellent use on the battlefields of Vietnam. Essentially, what was happening before ketamine, in terms of treating trauma patients, combat wounded, you had a lot of medications. Some of them were barbiturate based. And what that means is when you give a person this IV anesthetic on the battlefield in order to try to salvage their life and their limbs and their eyesight, whatever the case may be, it would cause their blood pressure to drop. And then once your blood pressure drops in that trauma situation, your blood volume, that your body has this compensatory mechanism where it wants to squeeze that blood, right? So your arteries and all this stuff, squeeze the stuff to try to maintain the blood inside of your body, to perfuse your vital organs. And the medications they were given before ketamine will actually cause the blood vessels to do this. So then the blood will just kind of go out of these penetrating wounds. So ketamine has this effect on the heart where it kind of stabilizes the heart rate and it stabilizes the blood pressure, maybe add a couple points to the blood pressure, which you don't mind in trauma because you need that blood pressure to perfuse these organs. And it also is a bronchodilator, right? So it helps you exchange oxygen better across your alveolar wall in the lungs. So we knew that it was a great drug for that, but it had this other effect. We call it a psychotomimetic effect. In other words, hallucinations. Okay. So a lot of people found it kind of undesirable in the setting of, if I'm just going to have a routine appendectomy or a face job or whatever the case may be, you don't necessarily want to have the lingering effect of a hallucination around that experience. So it was kind of reserved for trauma. In the late 90s, it was noted to have this antidepressant effect, right? So like, wow, okay, antidepressant effect, that sounds promising. So then a couple years later, we have 9/11, Operation Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, Afghanistan, Iraq, right? So we use ketamine probably by the gallons over there. And what they noticed was people who were treated with ketamine in country after being combat wounded had less scores of severity in terms of chronic pain, PTSD, and depression, these kind of things. So it works by virtue of the NMDA receptor, right, which causes you to have excess of this neurotransmitter called glutamate, right? Glutamate is a major excitatory neurotransmitter in the body. And then this causes some downstream effects. So what we seem to think, we don't know exactly the mechanism. We know the drug is safe. We know we can deliver it in a safe fashion and the way we deliver it. And but what seems to be going on is the parent drug itself, ketamine, lasts in the body about 2.5 hours, right? And then afterwards, the metabolites last a lot longer. So we think that the lasting effects of being treated for depression with ketamine is related to the changes in the brain and also the byproducts of ketamine. Or yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we're going to take a deeper dive, man, because you use some big old words, and we got to break this thing all the way down to the 3rd grade level so people can get it. But it is time for 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Doc, that is where we play a short 1 minute motivational clip, and then we kind of let you give a couple takeaways. I'll give a couple takeaways, and then the audience likes to comment their couple takeaways. And guys, remember, when you comment your biggest takeaway of the day, put takeaway and then give me your comment, because everybody who comments their takeaway will be entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. So, and we do our drawing today for that free vacation. So you could win a free vacation today if you participate in the show. So let's get to 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show.
3 years from now, you can have what you need. 3 years from now, you can have what you need. You got to be careful about it. You can't have everything. You can have what would be good for you. but you have to figure out what it is, and then you have to aim at it.
We know that sometimes you can be uncomfortable, but you can be uncomfortable and hopeful rather than uncomfortable and fearful.
People go through their lives without knowing what it is they want to do.
You don't have to be where you think you want to be in order to be happy. You just got to be on the way to where you want to be in order to be happy.
You are going to get what you're looking for. So if you're looking for success, you're looking for happiness, you're looking for prospects, you're looking for recruits or clients, I'm telling you, the more you're consciously looking for those things, you're going to see them. When you're looking to win, you're looking for victory.
Sit on your bed one day and ask yourself, what remarkably stupid things am I doing on a regular basis to absolutely screw up my life?
Hoo-wee. Doc, go ahead and what did you hear? One of your takeaways.
Yeah, the last part. What am I doing to consciously just screw up my life? I mean, that is 100%. I think a lot of times we're our own worst enemies and don't even know it. So being able to break these negative behavior patterns and thought patterns first and foremost is key to success, I believe.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he said in 3 years' time, you can be pretty much anything you want to be, but I think people are missing the 3 years' time because we all want it now. It's like, no, you got to be patient, you got to be diligent, and you got to take those little steps every single day, persistently and consistently. And then he said, you got to aim at it. A lot of people I find as I do coaching and that kind of thing, a lot of people will say how unhappy they are with what they have, but then you ask them, what do they want? And they can't tell you. It's like, well, that's why you're unhappy, because you don't even know what you want. So you can't, put a plan out there to go get it. I think the power in on the way was huge for me. He said, a young lady said, you don't have to be happy. You just have to be on your way. Right. And I feel that. So like I'm building a media empire that will one day surpass Walt Disney and Ted Turner. But what makes me happy is the journey. I'm on my way, me laying a brick today and a brick tomorrow and a brick the day after that. That's where my happiness is. And then, like you said, that last man, ask yourself, what incredibly stupid things are you doing to derail your own life? And I'm going to put the link to the actual full video because he goes beyond that and say, when you ask that question, be prepared to get the answer, right? So self-awareness is huge, Doc. So that is 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, sponsored, of course, by Iconic Infusion, PLLC, with the great Dr. Bryant Edwars. Make sure you guys check that out. So, Doc, talk real quick about you now are doing your own thing in your own clinics, and before you were in the hospital environment. And this show is all about the hustle. It's the hustle in life, but also the hustle in business and entrepreneurship. What was that shift for you that says, you know what, I'm going to open up my own clinic and do my own thing versus continuing your career path and using these solutions in a hospital setting?
Yeah. So that journey went like coming out of the military, right? And I was actually offered a position here at the local hospital to work in. It was a nice position and potential partnership. I don't know. But it was at that moment, I was just, based on everything I told you about the pain and the depression, everything that I went through, and I considered everybody else in town. Now I'm at Fayetteville, North Carolina, right? And this is home of the most lethal force in the United States military. Right, these guys anywhere in the world in 24 hours or less with a sizable force. We're talking about special forces, airborne infantry. These guys really are the ones, and because of that, they have all this combat burden, right? Because they had a lot of deployments, right? And this stuff really affects you in terms of PTSD, chronic pain, depression, anxiety, all these things. So I really wanted to be able to stop these guys from killing themselves. Like 22 veterans a day kill themselves. right? And to me, that was just unacceptable.
Say that number again. How many?
22.
22. Gotcha.
22 people in the United States kill themselves who are veterans, a lot of them combat veterans, right? Every day. That's unreal, right? So then we wanted to put a stop to that, and I knew ketamine worked, right? To do that. And that's basically the reason it works so well is, yes, it's a 70% effective, 80% effective, right? When you take an antidepressant by mouth, it's about 30% effective. You add another one on, then you drop to about 27%. So it doesn't get better by the more medications they start to put you on. So ketamine works fast, and that's the key. In other words, if I got a guy who's acutely suicidal, he comes in and get a ketamine infusion, it breaks that negative thought pattern. He's no longer want to kill himself in that moment. That's huge, right? That is huge. I mean, we can salvage these lives. So I knew I had a market here, and I knew I had this dream and this vision based on my own pain and suffering and what I was able to see out of my own situation. So then we just went for it. I started researching. I got a consultant. Like, I didn't know anything about this industry in business for the most part. Hired a consultant out of Colorado to teach me the ketamine business, right? And I started accumulating the resources I needed and just went for it. And turns out we started off, we're almost a year in business. We started in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
Nobody had the bandwidth. Nobody had the bandwidth for what we were offering at the time. So, Mr. Doris, we were working on something in terms of a promotional thing with this hand sanitizer, right? So we had this pre-COVID hand sanitizer infused with this lemongrass. Great, this stuff smells so good, right? And here we are, I'm in a town and nobody has hand sanitizer but us.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that drove business. The first few months in business was the fact that we had hand sanitizer. I gave a bunch of the away to the police and first line workers. Heck, I was even driving around the McDonald's giving it away to these frontline workers. Say, hey, here's some hand sanitizer, you know? And so that's how we kind of survived in the beginning. We just had to be creative. But yeah, it was a lot of times you wonder, you know, you're out here on this journey, you know, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And then you really, well, I tell you, if you don't believe in God, you go into business.
Yeah. yeah. Tell me about it. Man. I love it, man. You mentioned a couple really key things. And you said, hey, you knew ketamine worked, but you didn't know the business of ketamine. So you hired a consultant, somebody to come in and teach you the ketamine business. As a man, as a Black man, was there ever any ego that cropped up and said, man, no, I'm gonna figure this out on my own? Or did you just immediately know, hey, man, I ain't got time to waste. I'm just gonna go bring in a professional?
No hesitation.
Gotcha.
And the reason I say that, Cortez, is simply in my line of when I still work in the ORs. Don't get me wrong. There's some weeks I'm doing 100 hours of work, and that doesn't even include my clinic. Like 40 hours in one OR, 60-hour call, and then in the evenings come and work another 5 hours, 5 days a week, 25 hours of my own clinic, right? So busy. I'm busy now than I ever have been in my life, and I have to be that way in order to nurse this baby. I got to make this business go, so I have to work a lot still. But the ego thing, what I learned coming from the medical field is there's this high standard people expect from me that they don't expect of themselves. In other words, what makes your life more important than my quarter pounder with cheese?
Right.
I expect a high standard of excellence from everybody. But in the business space, I found that a lot of the stuff don't work. People do say things they don't do. And I was just kind of used to it, naive, thinking that just, you know, if I can't do my job, I'm out of there. Being a Black person, being a Black man in that field, if I'm dangerous, if I suck in the operating room, if I'm no good as an anesthesiologist, you better believe I won't be here, Jack.
That's right.
And so, and in the business space, I just don't see that. Like, people promise a lot of stuff and just won't come through. And after that point, you've already out of so many, whatever, $1,000 in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I love it, man. And pursuing excellence right out of the gate and setting your own standards, that is incredibly important. And when we're dealing with this ketamine, and so would you say that anybody is dealing with any trauma could benefit? Because we know that the trauma from war vets and that kind of thing. But is it for anybody with any type of depression and trauma, or is it specific to just those who have that intense trauma, like our soldiers?
No, so it is the best indication for ketamine is the treatment of treatment-resistant major depressive disorder, right? And what that means is it's a person who known to be depressed has tried at least 2 medications and things are not getting any better, right? Because we've already talked about the fact that if you taking a medication that's only 30% effective and then you add more medication that doesn't make it more effective, it actually lowers the effectiveness of it, right? Which is kind of counterintuitive.
Right.
So first and foremost, people with treatment-resistant major depressive disorder that's recurrent, those people benefit well, right? And what happens is, and general anxiety disorder is usually coupled with major depressive disorder. So a person who has depression is also anxiety, really anxious as well a lot of times. And then PTSD is nothing but anxiety on steroids, with imposed on you by a supercharged memory from a traumatic event that's seared into your brain, right? Under the influence of these highly powered neurotransmitters, norepinephrine, that kind of stuff. So to be clear, most people with major depressive disorder. Now I'll tell you how we do it, Cortez. We have partnered with this group, a bunch of young kids out of, I say kids, but they're adults. They're in medical school out of Stanford, right? In medical school. And these guys developed an app called the Osmind app. And what that is it allows my patients to self-report their mood on a daily basis if they desire, but every 2 weeks they're going to self-report how their depression symptoms are going. So as they're going through ketamine therapy, I can see with a graph that they go from 18 to 21 to almost symptom-free in about 3 or 4 infusions. I can see this, right? And that's great. But the beauty of this app is if my patient answers in the affirmative about self-harm, right, at that 2-week period, I'm going to get an alert that's going to say patient X is having thoughts of self-harm. I can intervene. Like it's potentially intervene at that moment, right? But also it's going to flash on the screen for that patient, the National Suicide Hotline, and also 911. But all they got to do is press it. So then, it's not what we're trying to do here. We want to affect change in a very purposeful and intentional way by giving people these tools and just introducing this technology, and we deliver it in a compassionate and technologically savvy type way.
I love that. And I want to talk about, I don't know if you have age restrictions, but I talk a lot about the fact that our babies are sick, right? Our children who are growing up in these urban environments and all they're seeing is death and destruction, right? And nobody is addressing this. Nobody is talking about how a 10-year-old boy who knows of somebody in his community, his same age, got gunned down in a drive-by shooting with a stray bullet. And the fact that he never addressed that and they treat that as normal. Nobody is talking about how that could cause, I guess if you got early onset dementia and Alzheimer's, you can have early onset depression, right? In these children who are dealing in these basic war zone type environments. So I guess my question is there an age restriction? Is it safer for children who've experienced serious trauma? And I'm a child of trauma myself. I was sexually abused as a child, and I suppressed that for 15 years, and it literally caused me to lose my mind, Doc. I woke up one day and my mind was gone, right? So thankfully, my wife was able to love me back through that situation, and we got the help. But is this something that if we identify these symptoms early on in younger people, is it something that could help them as well?
You know, that's a great question. There's not a lot of good evidence or studies out there to show where use of it in adolescents or pediatric population was indicated. I have no children in my patient panel at this point, right? But you're 100% correct in how you describe these suppressed memories and that kind of thing. What we see here is people who have these traumas early on are more predisposed to PTSD, like in the military after going into a combat situation. So all those things kind of primes them to have these later on greater problems. But we also see, as we're delivering ketamine to our patients, a lot of times it's almost if the drug causes this electrical chemical disconnect between the cognitive mind or the executive functionings for just a short time, right? Because each infusion is about 40 minutes. And that point, it's almost like all this subconscious stuff starts to come up. And we do a great job of suppressing it and doing these things, putting it into its own little box. But once you can't do that and you have to deal with it, that's where we see the greatest breakthrough. So I don't tell people this is a panacea. What I tell people is this drug is considered to be synaptogenic, or it makes your brain more plastic. In other words, as you're going through therapy, neurons that fire together, wire together, right? We're talking about muscle memory, learning new behaviors, these kind of things. So I say this drug is going to make your mind, make your brain more plastic. So this is the time to engage in talk therapy. This is the time to get into self-help books, yoga, any of these things that you want to do. This drug is going to make you not depressed. You're going to have this psychic energy like you hadn't had in a while. If you're depressed, you got this depressed brain, and all of a sudden it's flipped on again. Hey, don't get used to that good feeling. Hey, go out here and do something with this. This is a blessing. Take it.
Love it. Love it. So you're basically saying that the effects of this really, and like for me and my depression, and what I felt is what really happened to me. So the molestation was one thing, but also my mom was dealing with an abusive relationship. So what she did was her escape plan, I'm the fourth born of 6 children. Her escape plan was to start sending the children away. So she sent me and my sister away first, and then she sent a few more, and then she was able to leave herself, right? But in that escape plan, she sent me into the situation where I end up being molested. But then what I realized, it wasn't the major trauma. And it took me years to really get this. The major trauma was the neglect, because even though I went to live with my grandma, I wasn't with my mom, right? My cousins, my grandmother's kids still lived there. They had children. So I was with my cousins and stuff, but they all had mom and dad to go to at night, and I was by myself. So that was a major point of trauma. But you're saying that with this ketamine, you get your infusion and, that's going to wear off, but now your mind is open, and this is an opportunity for you really to start exploring and dealing with those past hurts, whether it be sitting down talking to somebody, whether it be getting the life coaching, the personal growth and self-development, because now you can create some new behaviors. And that's where you guys are seeing the lasting effects for depression intervention, right?
Right. Don't get me wrong, the drug itself does give you this lasting mood elevation. But I am saying, just because you have an elevated mood, if you don't do something with that to change these thoughts, you're going to end up somewhere. I don't know where, but it won't be where you want to be optimized. We're trying to optimize by putting people in the best position to be successful in terms of dealing with their mental wellness and physical wellness, right?
Yeah, and I love that, man, because I think the holistic approach is probably more important when you're dealing with this aspect than anything else, because we know that if I'm a physical trainer, then I'm going to train people on make sure you eat right. Don't just do this working out and not eat right, because the working out just ain't going to be as effective. Right. But this says, hey, man, we created this plastic mind. It creates the elasticity in your brain. Now you can add in these healthier habits that could really take a long-term and lasting effect. Doc, we do a segment on the Cortez Hustle Show called Freestyle, right? Because I know you got bars, Doc. I know you got bars. So it's time for you to drop some bars on us, Doc. Well,
cool, maybe, right?
Right. Well, freestyle isn't about hip hop or rapping as much as it is about you taking the next 90 seconds to 2 minutes and wherever this conversation has not evolved to, if I didn't ask the right question, I want to give you this moment to really speak from your heart what you want to communicate about what you do, this space in general, whatever is on your mind. So right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, we've got freestyle to Dr. Bryant Edwars version. So talk to the people, Doc.
Okay, Dr. Bryant Edwars, and the name of our company is Iconic Infusions, PLLC, located in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And the ketamine therapy is one service that we offer, one of our major services, but we also do IV nutrition and IV hydration, right? These vitamin infusions, these kind of things, to meet a variety of health issues that people may come to me with. In addition, we have another leg of our business that's launching soon, which is the Iconic Wellness brand, which we're going to be creating a platform for these vetted, high quality wellness products, essential oils, sometimes supplements, hand sanitizers, all these high quality stuff, plus our iconic merchandise, right? So this is coming out really soon. So we're excited about that. But I want to double back to the part about the IV hydration. I never thought I'd be in this industry doing what I am doing, right? Essentially what happens is how y'all people come to me with an issue, whether it's low energy or some other issue, right? They're not coming in for ketamine. And so I look at their past medical history and we talk through it and you realize, well, this person has vitamin D deficiency, but they're not taking their vitamin D. Now, I don't know why they're not doing that, but let me see if I can put them in the game. So we'll treat them with an IV and give them the B complex vitamins, B12 and all this stuff IV, but we also like maybe do a vitamin D injection. That way they can come in once a month and get this injection, don't have to worry about taking a pill. And we can get their levels therapeutic, and that way they're not suffering with depression, low energy, and that kind of stuff. So I see that a lot. I see people who come in with high blood pressure, especially from our community, right? And they're taking 2-3 medications. And I'm saying to myself, your best course of action is, because we can't do like our forebears, our ancestors. We can't sit here and die of diabetes and have our legs amputated piece by piece, or have strokes and heart attacks. But people of a certain cohort, 45, 50-year-old people like myself, we have to take the reins right now, change the trajectory of our health by losing weight, exercising, and eating right. Those are the best 3 ways to keep from dying an untimely death or dealing with high blood pressure and diabetes. Quite honestly, if the average person who dealt with high blood pressure and diabetes lost 20 pounds, they wouldn't have high blood pressure or diabetes, right? So I see that, and I address these people. I help them address these people, these problems. There are other clinics that offer like IV hydration all around the country. It's a growing trend, right? Big industry right now, but very few of them do it in the way that we do it, because you have a licensed board certified physician here who's looking at your whole body and not just saying, I want to sell you this $150 bag of vitamins. I want to help you empower yourself to be your own best advocate and live the best prosperous life you possibly can.
Man, I so love that, Doc. And I've been waiting on this, man. And what I mean by waiting on this is we know that there's traditionally a standoff between traditional and natural medicine. And now it seems like there is an opportunity for traditional to offer natural in a way that is profitable for them. Because before, hey man, listen, I'm not gonna tell you to go get some medicine or some vitamins that's gonna heal you, because you're gonna kill my practice. But now you're saying, hey, listen, I can do it in a way to where we can jumpstart your system, so to speak, and then you take these high quality nutritions, vitamins, mineral supplements, and that kind of stuff to keep it going. And if you ever fall off the wagon, then you can come back and get another infusion. We can jumpstart that system, because I am so, you don't understand how happy that makes me feel that somebody is doing that to this degree. And talk about some of the transformations that you've seen from the hydration, because a lot of, from my studies, overeating comes from dehydration. We actually eat when we're thirsty, and we don't realize that. right? Talk about some of the transformations you've seen in people who've gotten properly hydrated and people who've gone from practically no vitamin D in their system. And we know vitamin D actually functions more like a hormone than a vitamin, and it impacts so many other parts of the body. What are some of the greatest turnarounds you've seen when somebody just came in, hey, we got you hydrated and we got some vitamin D in you? What are some of those turnarounds look like for you guys?
Yeah. So the first one, dealing with the hydration, like you said, a lot of people eat because they don't realize that most of the water that we consume or we get in our body actually comes in the food that we eat, right? Mm-hmm. So soups and fresh fruits and vegetables is one way to passively hydrate yourself, right? Mm-hmm. But in terms of what we've seen, some of my greatest, I don't say breakthroughs, it's greater gratifying to see somebody. I had two octogenarian people in their 80s that came to see me, right? Mm-hmm. And both of them were at that break point where they were like, failure to thrive. In other words, their appetite's getting bad. They're not wanting to eat anymore. So they're kind of wasting away. They're in this nutritional deficit. And then they come to me, we hydrate them, give them a nice blend, a little B12. And then I tell them, okay, this is going to make you feel good. You're going to get a lot of energy out of this. You're going to get mental clarity. It's going to make you want to do stuff. But your problem is if you cannot eat like you want to in terms of food because you just don't have the appetite, there's a great product by Abbott, the people who make Ensure, they make this product called Juven. And Juven is like a punch Kool-Aid type thing that's filled with amino acids, glutamine, and all these things, right? So it allows them to drink this stuff, and that keeps their body from breaking down the muscle in order to survive. So you drink this Juven, it supplements you, and now you're not wasting away. So we've been able to treat these people. They took the advice that I gave them. They come in and get their hydrations maybe once or twice a month, and they're doing great. And they're in their 80s, and they were at this point where they were getting ready to be put in a nursing home. That was just unacceptable, right? This person has still a lot of life left. They just need to tweak a few things in their life. In terms of the vitamin D, yeah, we've seen quite a few outpatients who came into us, their vitamin D levels in, sub 9 or sub 10, like somewhere 9. We really want to be around 40. They say 30 is probably good, but 20 is definitely low. So we see this all the time. People coming in who have mood disorders, these kind of things. We augment their situation with a little vitamin D. Now they're feeling better just from a simple intervention.
I love $29. Right. And because we're so uneducated about the power of something like vitamin D, that's the last thing we would turn to for help and transformation. And it's like $29 can transform your whole life, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, the whole 9 yards. Doc, you keep saying this one phrase that I'm really loving to hear from a physician. That's unacceptable, right? Oh, yeah. And I love somebody who is in your capacity to say, I have the knowledge, the education, and the resources to help you both therapeutically in traditional medicine, but also naturally too. And I want to meet you where you are. Is that part of the philosophy of Iconic Infusion?
100%. People come to me because they want another alternative. They want another option. And as an anesthesiologist, an IV to me is like having a hammer if I'm a carpenter, right? In other words, I can give you medication that can get you back on your feet real quick, right? I can do things with this good running IV. So we meet them and you give people results quickly and you give them information. Once they get the results quickly, they're more likely to trust the information that you gave them because you're not waiting 2 weeks to find out if their blood pressure went up or down, right? We're immediately making people feel better. And then they use this information. So absolutely, they come to me with these issues. I'm saying, hey, I know you don't like taking your blood pressure medicine. You could probably do some beetroot powder while you take your medication, and then work with your other physician to kind of scale down on the dosage of that medication if it's giving you side effects, right? And lose some weight, you won't need any of the stuff. But continue to take that beetroot powder because that's what God gave us, is good stuff. Right. Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it, man. So you guys have been listening to and learning from Dr. Bryant Edwars of Infusion, Iconic Infusion, PLLC. They've got you covered from the rooter to the tutor, as they say in the South. I'm from the South too. I was born in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Oh, I got you,
Doc. So I know we ain't too far from one another. But really quickly, once again, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, and if they're in your area, how they can get in touch with you. And I'm glad to hear you say that you got other products coming, so even people outside of your area can get some of your 100%. Expertise. Yeah, we want to spread this vision worldwide. So you can reach me at KetaminFayetteville.com. That's Ketamine, KETAMINE, Fayetteville, FAYETTEVILLE.com. We're also on Facebook as Iconic Infusions. You can follow us and like us there. We would really appreciate it. Love it, love it, love it. So remember, guys, comment your biggest takeaway. But when I listen to Evan Carmichael, one of the guys I follow on YouTube, he's very inspirational. He brings a lot of great content. He says the person who has an idea of what they want to do is 35% likely to do it, right? But if they write it down, that 35% doubles. So write in the comments your biggest takeaway for today. But then he says you go from 70% to 90% when you put a plan of action behind it. So I don't want you to just write your takeaway down. I want you to say, hey, this was my takeaway, and here's how I'm going to implement it today, right? And then he says the last thing, you want to go from 90 to 95%. Say what you're going to do, write it down, develop a plan, and then tell somebody. So when you comment your takeaway today, not only do you get entered into a chance to win a free vacation, but you also get to 95% chance of actually executing on what you say this takeaway is. So comment your biggest takeaway and what you plan to do today to start implementing it in your life. So we are at the top of the hour, Doc. Appreciate your service in the military. Appreciate your time. And I appreciate your service now, because we need the knowledge, the tools, and the resources to manage our own health, right? We've got this chronic health problem, and most don't even realize that hospitals weren't built for this, right? Hospitals were built for trauma. Hey, I fall off a roof, crack my head, rush me to the hospital. That's what they do. They're not built for these self-imposed diseases and these autoimmune things. I mean, they are now because they've seen the influx, but that's not why they were instituted in the first place, right? You can't fix your own broken arm in most cases, so you go to the hospital. But you can fix your diet, your nutritional deficit. You can fix some of the things on your own, and you're providing the tools and the resources for them to do that. So appreciate you so much for that, Doc. That's it for today, man. Until we talk to you guys next time, we want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.